What's going on, guys? Killer6, and today we have big improvements to MOZE, skill tree fixes for Amara, Zane, and Flak, upgrades for the bank, sniper and heavy ammo SDUs, drop sources added for one of the most powerful weapons in the game, and so much more. So let's get into these patch notes. First, this patch brings us the Cartel's limited time event, which I covered in more detail in my previous video, and it also launches Mayhem 2.0. Now, I'm not going to really cover either of those things in this video, as they deserve their own videos that give them more detail. On to some of the big changes for our beloved Vault Hunters, starting with MOZE. MOZE is getting even more love in this patch. Previously, Gearbox gave her 2 other buffs, but this one takes the cake. The main point of interest here is that they're giving her additional ways to heal both her shield and her health. Additionally, they're increasing her damage and a couple of skills as well, so let's take a look at the changes. Bear. When a player is in the gunner's nest, the Iron Bear's weapons and turret will now deal increased damage. Obviously, this is mostly a co-op perk, but could make things fun for playing with your friends. Obviously, of course, you could also spec into Bear and Bear, and you can hop out and get into your own turret. But unless the damage is massively buffed, I doubt this is going to be better than just using Iron Bear normally. Force feedback added an instant 10% shield restore on top of immediately beginning shield recharging, so faster shield recharging for those of you using Iron Bear just to proc annoyance. Russian offensive added to skill while sprinting. The gunner also will now steal health with her weapons. This one's really cool. The single point skill that allows MOZE to be sprinting all the time will also now give you a way to heal at the same time. Redistribution, this one will now add health regeneration as well as ammo regeneration after crit damage. This skill was already one of MOZE's best, and now it is literally a must-have for MOZE mains. Scrappy adds weapon damage to the skill. For this skill, you must be moving, so it pairs really well with Russian offensive to give you guys even more damage with MOZE. Torg cross promotion. This skill will now also increase your splash damage. The skill originally only increased the size of the splash damage radius, so adding more damage is a great move. Now, if I could just find a way to stop killing myself with the skill, then that would be even better. Vladof Ingenuity. This skill will now also provide shield regen rate bonuses. So in addition to the nearly 50% shock resistance and 30% shield increase that this skill would give you, this will now also grant you shield regen, so this is a solid change. Now there's some additional MOZE changes, including they are fixing the Forge Capstone ability, which would sometimes not fill up your mag when the reserve ammo is filled up after firing the weapon. This probably doesn't sound like much if you've never played MOZE, but trust me, this is a big one. One of my favorite MOZE changes is that you should no longer have your vision obstructed when you enter Iron Bear after taking elemental damage. This one drove me really crazy when I was playing MOZE. This is a huge fix. A slightly less important change, well, super important to me, but probably not to many other people, is that if MOZE is in Iron Bear, you should now be able to melee barrels at people. For Amara, they fixed her sustainment skill, which would not proc while infusion was active when using normal bullet damage. They also fixed the fracture skill, which originally did not trigger phase slam anointed parts, so that's a huge change. They addressed reported concerns that the Siren's indiscriminate skill would reflect Torg projectiles nearby when the Siren damaged herself with it. They addressed a reported concern that the Siren's helping hands passive skill did not reset the duration if it was still active when the action skill came off cooldown. They addressed a reported concern that the Siren's Remnant passive did not function after killing an anointed enemy. It fixed a reported concern that the elemental projectiles from the Siren's Deliverance skill would not always seek out enemies. And lastly, for Amara, they addressed a reported concern that her Glamour skill would cause confused enemies to become immune and change allegiance. For Flak, they fixed some pretty big problems too. First, Lick the Wound's passive skill did not apply its 30% damage boost after reviving, and they fixed that. They addressed a reported concern that the Beastmaster's skill Who Rescued Who did not allow players to heal their pets by dealing damage. Addressed a reported concern that the Beastmaster's Ambush Predator skill did not have an icon on the HUD indicating when it was active. Addressed a reported concern that the Beastmaster's action skill cooldown reductions from head count during Fade Away were lost on action skill ends. Addressed a reported concern that their Lick the Wound's passive skill did not apply its 30% damage boost after reviving. Addressed a reported concern that damage over time would interrupt or reset the stacked buff from the Beastmaster's Stackbot class mod. Now this is a big one, because this could lead to Flak having a class mod that actually allows them to do massive damage. Well, even more massive damage than they already do. On to Zane. They addressed a reported concern that Deathfall's close skill did not modify the damage of the kill skill Best Served Cold. Best Served Cold is a Cryo Nova skill that's been mostly ignored, so maybe this will make it worth using. They addressed a reported concern that Schadenfreude augment did not apply when damaged by vehicles or other non-enemy sources. They addressed a reported concern where the Calm Cool collected skill would not trigger when an enemy was frozen by the operative's digiclone when using the double barrel skill. They addressed a reported concern that the digiclone would share damage when the player still had shield capacity available when using the digital distribution skill. They addressed a reported concern that some of the enemy's projectiles could pass through Zane's barrier and damage him. And this is another big one because we were having issues where Vladov and COV launchers were just going right through Zane's barrier, and it sucked. So it's good to see that they fixed that pretty quickly. They also addressed a reported concern that action skills would sometimes stop functioning temporarily for Zane when getting a second win while the action skills were still active. I don't know for sure what this means, but I'm hoping that this means that his barrier will stay out even after going in a fight for your life, because as a Zane main, when you throw down your barrier and then you die, your barrier disappears and you lose your action skill cooldown for it. So it kind of sucks when that happens, but you know, we'll have to wait and see if that's actually what this is, but I'm hoping. Now on to some other cool changes. The bank in Sanctuary is being increased again by 100 more slots. Additionally, you can now also upgrade your backpack by 10 slots and increase the amount of sniper and heavy ammo you can carry. To get these increases, you need to go to Marcus's place on Sanctuary and purchase the SDUs for each one. This appears to be what they meant when they said that we were going to need money for this new content. And finally, the SKULLMASHER and Cocky Bastard snipers will now have a farming spot. Previously, the only way to get these two were by opening up chests in the new DLC, and frankly, that was a nightmare. Now you can get the SKULLMASHER and also the Cocky Bastard just by farming any of the boss enemies in DLC 2. So happy hunting to you guys. I'm super pumped for this new content, fixes for skill trees and buffs for all 4 characters. There's new gear, new places to explore, new mayhem modifiers to try out. Man, I can't wait. I hope you guys found this patch notes video informative. If you did, then please take a second to hit that like button. Consider subscribing for more Borderlands 3 news, info, item guides, and playthrough videos. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.